So let's have a look at some changes that have happened just in this last week. So we've got changes to the Residential Tenancy COVID regulations. So that temporary tenancy moratorium that was introduced right at the beginning of COVID, sort of, March, April, or more April last year, when landlords, it was introduced to restrict when landlords could evict tenants due to rental arrears as a result of COVID. Now, that's ended on the 26th of March. So that was last Friday. So as of Saturday, the 27th of March, and I know I mentioned it last week, and I think I even mentioned it the week before, but now it's here. There's a 6-month transitional period. It has begun. So these measures are now in place until the 26th of September. So, 6 months' time. So this transitional period, it means that COVID-19 impacted tenants who accrued rent arrears between 15th of April when it started and the 26th of March, which was, last week, and as they're referring to it as the moratorium period, will not be subject to the standard tenancy eviction rules for those arrears. So, when we look at all of that, tenants and landlords will be assisted by Fair Trading to negotiate repayment plans for arrears. It's all about that. Let's get a repayment plan in place. Let's help people, work their way out of this. But so existing agreements between a tenant and landlord about either a waiver or a deferral of rent payment, they won't be affected by the end of the moratorium and the transitional measures. These new measures also still prevent landlords from evicting COVID-19 impacted tenants who accrued rental arrears during the moratorium period. So they can't use a no grounds eviction process if they're now on a periodic lease, unless it's fair and reasonable to do so. So, if someone was an impacted tenant and they're still an impacted tenant, they're permanently protected from being listed on the tenancy databases because of arrears accrued during that moratorium period. Obviously, if that's changed, they're no longer an impacted tenant or they weren't an impacted tenant at the time, the normal termination notices and everything else still applies, which was what was happening during that period anyway. It was all about being an impacted tenant. So guys, if you want to know some more about that, and there's a lot of information on the, as always, on the Fair Trading website about that information. There's actually a really, really cool flowchart. I love a good flowchart. There's a great flowchart that goes through the questions, and as with any flowchart, it asks you the questions and you go yes, no, and then it tells you where to go after that. So it makes it really simple as agents to go through this, and you can actually sit with your tenants and go, okay, well, where do we fit? This is, you're not paying your rent, you're not paying your arrears, you're not paying the, what was, the waiver or the deferral period of rent that happened during that moratorium period. So, if it was a deferral, then there has to be a negotiated outcome to that. So it really is about making sure that you find that negotiated outcome and work out how to do that. Now, there's ways of doing that. Fair Trading actually have, they will provide help. So before it, ends up in a tribunal, Fair Trading will actually help in negotiating a repayment plan. So, if you've actually initiated it and you've attempted to negotiate rent arrear repayment plan and you haven't had any success as an agent in doing that with your tenants who are in arrears, then there are trained dispute resolution officers at Fair Trading that can actually assist you. Again, hop onto the Fair Trading website. There are links on there when you look up the Residential Tenancy COVID regulations. So get onto the housing and property part of the Fair Trading website, go into tenancy, and actually right at the top of that there's a COVID-19 section. So click on that and all of this information comes up. All of the links come up to what types of forms you need to fill in. All the actual forms come up. The flow chart is there. Really, really helpful. So make sure you are accessing that information to get an end result on this.